poetic gesture and untapped words that sound deeply with our personalities and experiences. Each week, we bring you half an hour of pure poetic delight, where words flow freely and emotions dance. So, once again, good evening and welcome to Poetry Corner. As our mission is not only to give a platform that will establish poetry out there, but it's also a way to give a light, a shining light to a spotlight, and to also to imagine talent, a bridge that unites people together. We believe that poetry has all it takes to do so. And here at Poetry Corner, we are live at Redeemer Television, Channel 25, and also social media platforms such as YouTube and Facebook, Redeemer Media Network, and our studio, which is live and here at Redeemer Media Network. Don't forget you're watching us live at Redeemer Television. We are always here to give you half an hour of pure poetic delight, 8:30 to 9 o'clock p.m. Once more, welcome again. And tonight we will be talking about the benefits of poetry to poet, the benefits in which poetry have to those that are saying I'm a poet, I write, I do this, I write poems, I love being in that emotion, I love expressing myself. So tonight we will be talking about the benefits in which a poet have, in which a poet gains from writing a poem, from deciding that me a, B, C, and D, I will be a poet from today onwards. So that's what we'll be talking about. And I believe you out there want to have the experience, wants to know the benefits in which it holds. Because I believe that a poet is out there who is shy in order to reveal his or herself because of the local stereotype, mostly us Africans, the local stereotype we have that who is a poet? A poet is just a person that's doing his idle time. We even say idle time. Use a pen and a paper and pen what he or she feels at that particular moment. So tonight we'll be talking about the importance in which, or let's say the benefit in which a poet gains from being a poet. So tonight we are having here wonderful personnel, a handsome gentleman, father of the land, a gentleman who is not as a person but Mr. Banabom J.I. Kano. Good evening and welcome to Poetry Corner.
All right, thank you so much for having me. I am super excited for being here. Literally, this is my first time to visit you on this station, but I'm super excited for being here. That's just a fact, and I'm actually aiming at getting a wonderful encounter with you.
Okay, thank you. And same here, we are overwhelmed. We are overdealed, in fact, of having a poet here, a famous one at that. So, and don't forget that you're watching us live at Redeemer Television, Channel 25, here in Freetown, 6 Wemsley Lane, headquarter of Faith Healing Bible Church. And also, you can also watch us live at our social media platform, Facebook and YouTube, Redeemer Media Network. So back to you again, honorable guest for tonight, our poet. So as tonight's topic will based on topic of discussion, will based on the benefits in which a poet gets from being a poet, from writing a poem. So, but before we start, can you please tell us more, because there will be someone out there who doesn't have the idea, the know-how of who is even a poet. What's this thing called poet and poetry in fact? So can you please tell us the meaning of poetry?
Well, in my opinion, um, sometimes in 2023, because I took part in the Global Poetry Marathon, day 6, the topic was the goodies of poetry. So I actually wrote a poem on that, but from that extract, in my opinion, I define poetry as a literary tool through which sensations and opinions are expressed in a condensed language. Now, poetry is something that is so unique to such an extent that you have the ability to express an ambiguous idea in a very simple way by using small words or few words in order to express your feelings. So poetry is actually different from normal writing. Poetry has its own style. It deals with literary elements. You understand? So we have different types of poetry. You understand? We have spoken poetry. We have some kind of poetry that are deeply literal, that focus on literature specifically. So literally, if I can put it to a very simple state, a poet is an individual that has the ability to express his or her feeling in a very simple way that will make sense to the audience.
Okay, thank you very much for telling us in your own simple way what poetry means and who is a poet. So, can I just ask a question? What are those things that, or these words that need to put that? What are the combination that we need to put together in order for a poet, for a poetry to become a poetry?
Okay, meaning we are now looking at the basic features or characteristics of poetry. One of the key elements that must be considered in categorizing poetry is mood. Understand? Every poem must have a mood, a feeling. Well, for me as a poet, and I'm sure other poets can also resonate to this. For whatever state you find yourself, be it you're happy, sad, or whatever mood you think you are, that is a perfect piece, is a perfect place, or a perfect moment for you to come up with something poetic. So mood is very significant. You also have to think about rhyme scheme, but actually this is not um, a mandatory characteristic that every poem must actually follow the scheme of rhyme, but it is part of the elements of poetry. Some poems and some poems must rhyme actually, based on the feelings, based on the intention of the writer, the poet. You know, Poetry also contains literary elements that we call figures of speech. For example, people can say there are certain ways people can say um, the camera is actually dancing well, but you and I know that it is very impossible for a camera to dance well, to dance in the first place. So this is the act of giving human attributes to um, things that are actually lifeless, inanimate objects. So poetry is crazy. It's bringing something that is not real to reality by dealing with intuition, the aspect of thinking deep. So we actually have various poetic elements that qualify a poem a poem. Understand? So these are some of the few characteristics. Then poems must also be divided into stanzas, even though certain poems cannot be divided into stanzas, considering the freelance system of the writer, the free verse setting. But it is mandatory sometimes that certain poems must be structural. Yeah, but that as well has to do with the intention of the writer. But the basic element you have to have about poetry is the fact that it must deal with a mood, it must have a mood, a feeling, a particular idea you want to send out there. It must somehow be in a rhyme scheme setting, the words must be well arranged, and you have to mean what you are saying.
Okay, thank you very much. So, based on what you've just analyzed and so on and so forth, can anybody be a poet? Can anybody who have this feeling, this mood, anybody who can give a rhyming of words, can anybody be a poet?
Of course, yes. In fact, in my opinion, there is a particular line in this poem that barely every man is a poet, but great poets are those who see beyond the shores of the horizons, zoom the portraits of what they see, and navigate them through words for the audience to feel. So, meaning everybody is a poet. In my opinion, everybody is a poet.
As long as you can pen
Of
down
course,
a thing.
but there is a great emphasis on who is a poet. That's those who can actually think deep beyond the spirit realm of human understanding, bring reality. So literally everybody can be a poet. There is no barrier to that. Everybody can be a poet. But to put your poetic skills to reality, there comes in the practice.
Okay, based on all the knowledge you have, who is a poet, based on poetry, so on and so forth, how many poems have you totally written?
Well, I have actually not holistically put my poems together, but I can say I've written over 300 poems. Over 300 poems.
Okay, over these 300 poems, what are the what's the magic towards that, the wonders towards you writing over 300 poems?
Okay, sometimes in 2017 I started developing this whole career. So um I do write poetry based on motivation. I actually do not write in vacuum. A situation must prompt me to write. If a situation prompts me to write, then you see the raw facts of who I am naturally. So I actually write based on motivation, sometimes based on observation. I look at something, certain scenarios, and come up with something. I can look at a picture, an image, or a portrait of somebody, study the process very well, and come up with something. In fact, of recent, I wrote a story, the old man's story. There is a particular photo of LJ. He sat down with kids. The environment was it was at night, so I looked at that particular picture. I came up with something. So that's how I am. I am very much observational, and I can write based on motivation and so on.
Okay, and I would love to go through one of your a poem which has been done by our guest here tonight. So don't go anywhere. Stay tight. Stay connected as we are about to look work done by our guest.
The land stretches her eyes and pictures the beautiful images that describe her features. She has lost the shape of how she was meant to be, especially when her the land stretches her eyes and pictures the beautiful images that describe her features. She has lost the shape of how she was meant to be, especially when her breeds have vowed to cultivate unscrupulous customs that will lead her to the sea. Her eyes engulfed with blood, painfully bleed like an injured bird. Her countenance appears crumpled like a frustrated old chimpanzee. She has lived for million years, scrambling to instill love, peace, and integrity in her breeds, but her virtue is downgraded by her kids. What is love? What does it mean to be a patriot? I mean, what is integrity? Integrity is doing what is right, standing for nothing but for strong moral principles. Lion Mountain needs integrous breeds, breeds that can breathe out the fraudulent tricks and handle the public sectors with decency and respect. It's high time we started processing our conscience and give ears to the voices of our pillows. Our hands have been dishonest. Our clandestine syndicates are unclean. Our service is vague. Our tongues tell the unfaithful truth. Our savings are heavier than our wages. Our houses are built with illegal funds. What have we done to pick the bones? Which move do we have in mind to eradicate the massive defalcation? All of us want to reach the limelight, but how many of us that won't play hide and seek? How many of us that will spare what belongs to the 7 million population? How many of us that dance to the whims of the Scorpion team? What's our mission? Our mission is to make Sierra Leone becomes the paradise we see in our dreams, and every breed has to portray integrity in every facet, because the bridge of integrity has broken. So we must listen because Sierra Leone has fallen. We must stand firm to rebuild the broken edges. And if we care, we must listen and change our bad ways.
Short performance done by our guest here, Mr. Bonabom Kanu. Welcome again. And don't forget that you're watching us live here at Redeemer Television on channel 25, and also our YouTube and Facebook channel, social media platforms, Redeemer Media. We've just coming back from a short performance done by our guest, which was wonderful, and it was wonderfully done. And don't also forget that our topic of discussion tonight is the benefit of poetry to poet. The benefit of poetry to poet. So, Mr. Kanu, thank you very much for a work well done. So let's just come back based on our topic of discussion. Let's just base a few minutes, which is remaining now, to talk about the benefits of poetry to poet. So can you please tell us at least 5 benefits in which people that write poem gain from being a poet?
Well, poetry is actually intriguing. It exposes you to, the use of diction, strong sense of thinking. It's actually improves your language because you have to use words, you have to use expressions. So poetry also gives poets that kind of ability to be entertained. In my opinion, how I do things, anytime I'm bored, if I think I don't want a situation to affect me, so I use poetry as a tool to console myself or to actually put myself in a better situation, preventing myself from being stressed out by certain things. So poetry serves as an entertainment to me. And then poetry exposes you to the world. It gives you the ability to express your opinions on every situation, politics, entertainment, whatever circumstance in society. Poetry gives poet the ability to express their freedom, their freedom of expression in a protected form. Then to some extent, poetry is economical. Yes, it has some economical values, but now as a poet, being that we are trying to get there, we are actually not receiving the economical value we are expecting. Yes, in fact, considering the country we are, but poetry is actually a very strong sense of entertainment. That people pay to go watch. We've seen, for example, in the United States, there is a competition called Brave New Voices. Every year it is actually organized by states. So we see where poets become so influential financially and so on. So poetry is actually economical. Then poetry actually shapes your level of understanding things because you are dealing with deep expressions. So it gives you the ability to think well, then it also improves your writing skills. In fact, in 2023, the World Poetry Day, the topic was, the theme was always be a poet, even in prose. So I'm actually in love with that particular expression, and that has been a strong center of focus in my writing. Even if I'm writing prose or drama, I always ensure that I insert some features or characteristics of poetry. So that is why sometimes when I give my work to colleagues to proofread, they tend to bring out those feelings, those poetic feelings I insert, because they already have a fixed mindset that there is this famous writer and this is a trend he uses, so every poet know. I believe in the aspect of being creative. So poetry helps me a lot in expressing myself in other forms of writing.
Okay, this got my attention. So let's say there's a boy who is barely going up to survive. Then he meets his mother. Mom, I want to be a poet. not doctor, not lawyer, not banker. I want to be a poet. And the mother will be like, what? What are you saying now? So how can poetry be a beneficiary, something that we allow parents, that we allow guardians to allow their children to study? Is poetry beneficiary to people? Will it be beneficiary to people like, I'm a poet, I do survive on my poems? Is it beneficial? I don't know if you know what I'm trying to say.
I got it. The simplest thing I will say is the fact that everybody has to follow their passion. Um, a young boy that is coming up that wants to be a poet, if that is a wish and the passion of that particular young boy, I'm encouraging the parents to let the boy be. You understand? Because in life, follow your passion. When you follow your passion, that will actually be the best. Now, it may not be economically, viable as people might think, but
That's my point,
yes,
really.
fine. But what I would advise, you actually have to diversify your skills. For me, professionally, I'm a teacher. You understand that? That's where I survive. In fact, I do communication for a living. So I normally tell people that I do communication for a living. So
Okay.
now, so poetry is just an added advantage to what I do. You understand?
Aside.
Fine.
Okay.
But typically, I have passion in writing more than anything else, any job. You understand? So it might not have that kind of economical value as of now, but the way you package yourself, if you are consistent, in our conversation earlier on, I told you that consistency is the key to developing any gift you have.
Of
So
course.
now we have people that have actually survived. The world actually knows them now because of what they did. The likes of Achebe, even Soyinka. We used to have Banabom Alwell of late memory, Sierra Leone. We have a lot of people who've actually benefited from poetry. So it has economical value, that's how I will tell you. And in Sierra Leone, we are actually trying to change the face. We are now taking poetry from the pages to the stages. Make it
Ah.
entertaining. Yes.
So that's a very good one. So to you out there thinking that how can I survive being a poet? You know that you have the passion, but you're killing it because of circumstance, because of the environment you find yourself. I'm here this night to encourage you that don't kill it. It's your own way of surviving. There will be a time they will be looking for you, and if you're ashamed now of being called a poet, then tomorrow you should also be ashamed. So it's time now for you to rise up as we are taking poetry
The pages to
from
the
the
stages.
pages to
To
the
the stages.
stages. And I believe that one day, someday, you will be loved to be called at the stage, because that is where poetry is taking poets to. So that's number one benefit of being a poet, because it will take you from the pages to the stages. That's a good one, sir. So you being a poet for years and so on. What are the challenges that you're facing?
Okay. Okay. Now, as far as challenges are concerned, they are always there. You have to get prepared for them. But basically, I face challenge with certain the environment. You understand? Sometimes poetry, you need to find a confined place that is devoid from noise. You don't need distractions. Sometimes family members, you can be thinking deep. Kids will be that kind of setting. Then too, I also face challenge of the platforms. The platforms are actually not enough. If they are there in Sierra Leone, they are actually not enough. Out of 100%, we are even yet to clock 5 or 10% of promoting poets. So at my stage and the level of understanding I think I have in poetry, I should have hit the market now. I have
Wow.
poems. I have, like I told you, I've written over 300 poems. You understand? So, if I am to insert those poems into an anthology, at least 50 poems can make up of an anthology. An anthology is a collection of poems put together as a book. So those 300 poems, for example, can give me some like six, right? Six books already written full of poems. And if those books are actually sold out there, it's the money comes to me. You understand? But that platform is not there. Considering the printing cost, having quality printing, the publishing houses are not there. We only have one Sierra Leone Writers series. Apart from them, I've not had any other one yet that is making name in the country or even out of Africa. So the platforms are actually not there. So the challenges, I think the platforms that are not there is the central challenge actually that I face as a poet. You can make your video, you can write your poem. Sometimes people even have lack the chance to read. Even though I have people that read my works, no matter what I post, they read. You understand? But that's a major challenge. The audience, platforms.
So, in a nutshell, you have to know what you're doing. Even though challenges may come, but you have to know what you're doing, and that really helps people to endure till the end. So, before we round up, we just love to hear from you a poem that would like you to perform for us now, so that you will tell the audience what you made up of.
Okay. Actually, I am going to bless you all with a poem titled Agomos Maker Me Take Your Poem.
No problem, you can go on.
I just believe that it is not mandatory that every poem must be written in English. Poems can be written in any language of your choice you feel like. So Agomos Maker is a poem that focuses on encouraging young people out there with exceptional skills. But these people have tried everything humanly possible in order to gain attention, to excel. But the platforms are not there, so family members may look low on them. Sometimes you may want to give up. I want you guys to know that I'm also in that particular situation. So this poem is for you, this poem is for me, and the poem is for
It's
us.
for us all.
Yes. I go must make the game king big, or the jungle king tough. Man wake up in the morning with no starting for knack one plate, me face skin off. Much not there for bluff, but I still keep decent. I've gone through a lot, my life is a mystery.
Back. Stay with us. You're watching Redeemer Television on Channel 25. We will be right back. Stay with us. You're watching Redeemer Television.